As you can see, the Backstage Pass is all business today. My daughter requested this particular outfit on a Friday. You will not see me wearing a suit, especially a tie. My God, a tie? I never wear ties, but I was talking to my daughter. I was scheduled to visit her class and be the mystery reader. So an uninvited yet invited parent comes into the classroom, a secret reader, surprises the children. No one knows who it's going to be, except, of course, well, I guess in some cases, the parent could not even tell their child that they're coming in, and it would be a surprise to everyone except the teacher. But in this case, my daughter knows, the teacher knows, and I think my daughter told one of her friends who won't tell anyone. But then she went through the whole scenario last night about how that friend could conceivably tell one of the other friends, and then that friend could go on and tell a couple friends, and then before you know it, everyone in the class would know it's going to be me. I hope not. I hope it's a surprise to some. Most of the teachers do this. Year to year, I've been the secret reader. It's the third year in a row. So I'm excited. I love it. We're going to be reading How Dinosaurs Say Merry Christmas, right? I mean, 'tis the season, right? But there's also a book called Click Clack Moo, which I love, and my daughter does not like. And it's about how these cows rebel against the farmer and refuse to produce milk or anything unless they get extra provisions from the farmer. So it's collective bargaining. It's my favorite book because it's all about animals initiating collective bargaining, labor empowerment, and how laborers can get together and have more power and collectively bargain better compensation. I mean, that's what it's about. The book is literally about that because then the chickens go on strike after the cows go on strike. And then there's this whole protracted negotiation that goes on. The ducks actually are the moderators of the negotiation. And then both the chickens and the cows end up receiving electric blankets from the farmer. So that's the concession. And then, spoiler alert, the ducks end up going out on strike as well at the end. So it ends with the ducks going on strike. So the farmer thought he had it wrapped up. He thought all negotiations were a wrap. And then suddenly the moderator goes on strike. And then, well, you'll have to read the book to find out how it ends. So I love that book. I'm hoping to bring that book and surprise my daughter by reading that book as well, to her chagrin. So we'll see if the teacher allows me to sneak a second book in. So that's the deal. That's what's going on today in the life of Matt Kelley. And I wanted to workshop an idea for the show with you today. We've talked about on previous shows how the Backstage Pass is utilized. And one of the ways that it's utilized is to release trial balloons to a trusted audience, to workshop ideas and topics for future shows. I let you know what I'm thinking, what my challenges are with a particular sports take or position, and then you can let me know, hey, here's some areas where you can improve that take, or, that take's just not going to resonate. That's not a topic you should cover. You're better off sticking to football, something like that. So in the first show this week, the Tuesday show, we led with Eli Manning because the timing was perfect. Just as I was going to record, the Eli Manning bench news was released. So he was benched. He wasn't actually benched, by the way. So we later found out that he was told that Geno Smith would likely get snaps in the game, and would he be okay with that so that he could continue his record. He has a record number. I think he holds the current record for games started in the NFL among active quarterbacks, and they offered to allow him to hold a grip on that record and keep it going, right? To maintain that record, allowing him to start for an unknown number of snaps before they bring in Geno Smith. And he said, no, if you can't guarantee me every snap in the game, I'm not playing. So that's what happened. So you find that out later, and it's just all the more curious. Even though I talked about my position that Eli Manning deserved to get benched, the Giants were correct in benching him, and that as fantasy gamers, we should be happy that we can now go out and pick up Geno Smith and see what Geno Smith has to offer, and it's conceivable that Geno Smith plays better. So this is a win all around for fantasy gamers. It's a win all around for everyone except Eli Manning. The only person that should be upset about this is Eli Manning, and yet seemingly the vast majority of members of the sports media, not just in New York, but around the country, rushed to Eli's defense, right? And that's what it continues to agitate me, right? I can't let it go. I continue to think about this issue, this Eli Manning versus Geno Smith issue. And when I am perpetually bothered and agitated, that's the impetus and inspiration for show content, right? That's how it always is. I'm bothered by something, whether it's Jeff Miller on Twitter or whatever, right? Jason Braddock comparing Colin Kaepernick to Deshaun Watson. What? So get agitated, and then you talk about it. Well, I continue to get agitated. I did not get all of the Eli Manning opinion out of my system, and I continue to build on this belief that there's an inequity when you look at the Eli Manning versus Geno Smith dichotomy. There's just a fundamental unfairness. And what I wanted to workshop on the Backstage Pass is this idea of continuing to talk about it, because we have these games every week. We now have 16 games happening per week. Now there's no bye weeks. There's so much action. I just talked to David Kitchen on the show, and we talked for over 2 hours. It was great. That was one of the best shows we've done. I had so much fun. I hope you agree. Hope you like that show. We could have cut it down, but I was having such a great time talking to him, and he was so generous with his time. We just kept talking and talking. It ended up being a 2-hour show, and there were so many moments that made me smile, and I hope you agree. I hope you also smiled. It's a win all around for everybody in that case. So much to talk about. Why continue to come back to this Eli Manning versus Geno Smith dichotomy? Why let that consume me? So that's the question. It's agitating me, but should I let it consume me, and should I let it crowd out other content on the show? And so the reason why I'm consumed by it is because I just can't help but think that if the roles were reversed, or that the races were reversed, and that Geno Smith was a black quarterback, and Eli Manning was a black quarterback, and Geno Smith was a white quarterback, that things would be different. And this isn't the reason why I think I'm so agitated is because this isn't the first time this occurred to me, right? It occurred to me with Tyrod Taylor. Why were media members not more outspoken about the Tyrod Taylor benching? Why was it that, and this is, again, why I want to workshop this, because maybe this is my perception failing. Maybe my spectrum of sports media consumption is too narrow. Maybe I missed it. But I did not see outrage from sports media gas bags on the big networks, mainstream media analysis criticizing the benching of Tyrod Taylor. I didn't see it. What I heard were rationalizations for giving Nathan Peterman a chance, right? Seeing what you have in Nathan Peterman. It's Nathan Peterman time, and here's why. Like, essentially a pretzel-like argument, twisting and turning the argument to convince readers and sports fans and Bills fans that going with Tyrod Taylor was the right move. It was not. Clearly, it was not. I don't know if Tyrod Taylor set a record for interceptions per minute of a career, but he has to be up there. He has to be very close to the record for interceptions per minute of a career. We should check that out. Actually, one of you maybe. If you'd like to do some research, let's go see if you can find out whether the current leader in the clubhouse for interceptions per minute for a career is Nathan Peterman. But you didn't see the outrage, right? And this was a white quarterback taking the job of a black quarterback. Very little outrage. The outrage I read was actually on football Twitter, because this is why football Twitter is such a great follow. Just hashtag football Twitter, but all the main guys, JJ Zacharyson and Rich Rebar and Evan Silva, these guys, the right guys to follow. You know them by now. No, so they had nothing but harsh criticism for the move. I think it's Sean McDermott. That's right. Nothing but harsh criticism for Sean McDermott, who is just an oaf. He's just an oaf. Just one of the prototypical obtuse oaf NFL coaches, Sean McDermott. Because after the spectacular flameout that was Nathan Peterman, Sean McDermott came out publicly and said, I don't regret the decision. I regret the result. Fuck you. Fuck you for saying that. Fuck you. And I'm saying fuck you on behalf of Tyrod Taylor because I'm empathizing with the athlete in this position. And you know what? Fuck you on behalf of Nathan Peterman for putting him in that position on the road against that opponent. That was the wrong opponent, the wrong time, in the wrong environment. Sean, fuck you. It was the wrong decision. Have accountability. You ask your players to be accountable. Why can't the coach be accountable? I don't know. And so with the Giants, they're trying to be accountable. They're holding Eli Manning accountable. They're holding themselves accountable. They're saying, we're going to make a change. And they're showing leadership. That's great leadership, to bench a popular quarterback who's won 2 Super Bowls. That, to me, is the unpopular decision. Whenever you see people in leadership positions going out and doing and making unpopular decisions and taking unpopular actions, then that's a signal, we have some leadership here in the building. And this was the first time I've seen leadership from anyone in the Giants organization in a long time. So I was impressed, right? Give Geno Smith a chance. He deserves another chance. His only chance came on a wayward New York Jets team. You feel like he's been properly evaluated? Really? Who the fuck are you to believe that Geno Smith has been fully and properly evaluated? He has not been. How is that the conclusion? We've seen all we need to see from Geno Smith. We know exactly what Geno Smith is. No, you don't. Just like you didn't know exactly what Case Keenum was until you put him in a situation where he could thrive. Well, this is not a situation at age 27 where Geno Smith can thrive. A broken Giants franchise. I think Geno Smith deserves a couple more chances. I think he deserves to have a chance like Case Keenum in a situation that is built for success for the quarterback. He won't find it in New York at either franchise, but at least give him an opportunity to show what he can do. He was an early second-round pick. Now, he did not exhibit great efficiency at the college level, but neither did Derek Carr, neither did a lot of quarterbacks that are still in the league and still starting, like, Jay Cutler was never efficient at the college level, never efficient at the professional level, and yet still a starter. So why can't Geno Smith be that? Why can't Geno Smith be Jay Cutler? Because Geno Smith's not white. Because if a black quarterback had Jay Cutler's production and efficiency through the first 5 years of his career, he would have been and become Geno Smith before Geno Smith. He would not have been given chance after chance after chance. I believe that. I could be wrong. That's why I'm workshopping this. I don't know how this would be received, this opinion. That, generally speaking, that coaches and fans and members of the sports media treat black and white quarterbacks very differently. I did not believe that the difference was this stark between the perception of black versus white quarterbacks until this year, until Colin Kaepernick happened, and now Tyrod Taylor, and now Geno Smith, and we're in week 13, and now I've seen it over and over and over again. And yes, my radar is up. I'm now noticing it, looking for it more. That's true. So there's some bias there, but you gotta be kidding me. This year, 3 different instances where it's clear to me that there is a prejudice. Yes, there was a prejudice in favor of Nathan Peterman and against Tyrod Taylor, except in the fantasy football world. I mean, I have to give ourselves a hand. I mean, we do such a great job at fantasy football, right? Being unbiased. We work so hard to be unbiased, canceling out the noise, focusing on what matters. It's not just PlayerProfiler. It's so many of the great fantasy analysts and great fantasy outlets that we trust that do such a great job identifying, no. The stats to look at on Tyrod Taylor are X, Y, and Z, and he's better now than Nathan Peterman will ever be based on what we saw of Nathan Peterman at Pitt. He can't play. Nathan Peterman at Pitt is no different than Tom Savage at Pitt. What's the difference? These are players that can't play. I mean, I think Tom Savage is a rich man's Nathan Peterman, if you look at their resumes at Pitt, respectively. So the question is, why is Geno Smith being treated this way at age 27 as if he's this washed-up nobody that does not deserve a second chance at NFL success? How is that? Why? How? When you look at the history, going back through time, to Jay Cutler, Jake Delhomme, I mean, I can go on and on and on and on and on and on. Brandon Weeden, so many quarterbacks, white quarterbacks that washed out were given a second chance. Why not Geno Smith? But no, what we see is rushing to the defense of the quarterback that we know is washed up in Eli Manning. The quarterback that's on a wayward franchise, it's not helping his team in any way, shape, or form at this point in his career, Eli Manning. It was no rational reason to having him start. And yet, the rush to defense is what was so unsettling to me. Just the volume and the vigor with which so many impassioned members of sports media came out rushing to the defense, basically lining up as a phalanx in front of Eli Manning, defending him against the world and against the barbs, against the injustice that the New York Giants were imposing on him. Give me a break. Give me a break. I remember in Washington that Washington fans couldn't wait to reinstall Jay Schrader as the quarterback after Doug Williams had won them a Super Bowl. So you might say, the Super Bowls are what's buoying Eli Manning. I'm not even sure it's the Super Bowls, because that's not how Doug Williams was treated in Washington. He was quickly marginalized. And again, I wasn't around back then. I did not have my radar up for this in 1987. So I don't remember exactly how this went down. But time and time again, I just don't see the black quarterbacks being treated in any way, shape, or form the same as the white quarterbacks. And I could be way off on this. And there could be something I'm missing with the Eli Manning versus Geno Smith, because I think that's the starkest comparison, this Eli Manning, Geno Smith dichotomy, where I think that Eli Manning has no claim whatsoever to that starting job, and that he should have opted, raised his hand and said, I will take a step down. I will step down as starting quarterback here, instead of standing in front of his locker and crying, essentially, this sort of passive-aggressive pleading with his organization to take him back or people to feel bad for him, when he should have been putting his arm around Geno Smith and helping him and actually encouraging the organization to give Geno Smith a chance. I don't get it. I don't get it. I absolutely think that if Eli Manning were a black quarterback, Geno Smith or a white quarterback, this would be different. The whole perception would be different. The outrage would not materialize, and that there would be this rush of enthusiasm to be given this Geno Smith a second chance, right? Giving him a second chance. But that's not what's happening. And it could be that the well's been poisoned because he failed so spectacularly in that New York media market. And so there may be a lot of factors at play, and that's why I'm not comfortable just going out on the podcast with tens of thousands of downloads and talking about this. I wanted to workshop this with the Backstage Pass audience. Let me know what you think. Is this a take that's ready for prime time, or have I shared it with an audience I can trust that isn't going to, abandon the podcast because they think I'm just going out to an extreme and a politically sensitive time and topic? So let me know. Thank you for your time. Have a great weekend.